exactly, though, can you, if you have an understanding of your dream, if you begin to realize what your dream is telling you, how do you actually use it then, either to make a decision or to improve your whatever, your speaking abilities or your writing or whatever it is that you want to work on? How do you actually use it once you have an understanding?
I think that would depend on what the issue was and the kind of information that came through for you. Sometimes the information can be very dramatic and direct. There's a woman named Wanda Birch who is what we would describe as a strong dreamer, who has worked with her dreams for a number of years and who began having dreams of her father, who was deceased, coming to her in the dream and telling her that she needed to go see her doctor. And she did, and was diagnosed with breast cancer. And because she had already had a history of working with her dreams, she then was able to use information that came through to her in her dreams to help guide her treatment, both in terms of helping her emotionally cope with the treatment, but actually in terms of working with her doctor to say, I want this today and I don't want this, or I want to pursue this path and I don't want to go that way. So that's a very concrete way that someone used dream information to good effect.
What about scary dreams? How do you use a dream that terrifies you?
Right. Well, there are different ways to do that, and I think that really depends on who you are as a dreamer. But let's say you're an adult, and let's say also that you do not have a strong history of trauma, and this a lot of times, of course, nightmares are related to post-traumatic stress types of things, and then they become difficult, and often it is helpful to work with a therapist in those kind of situations. But let's say you're an adult who is pretty together in your life, and all of a sudden you start having these nightmares. One of the recommendations that I might make to you for that would be to use the active dreaming, active imagination style of work while you're awake, while you feel comfortable, while you're not in the grip of the scariness of the dream, and to confront whatever is scaring you. Because one of the understandings of nightmares is that the information is coming to us in a very strong, vivid, scary way to get our attention, so that we will remember, so that we will pay attention. And then the hard part is to turn around to the monster and say, why are you here? What message do you have for me?
What are you trying to tell me?
Right.
Are there different types of dream work, or does one method work for everyone?
There are different types. And different methods work for different people, depending on what you like, how it feels comfortable to you, and also for what you're going for. Talking, sharing, telling the dream as a story, and then having people say, well, here's how I heard that, here's how that felt to me. If this were my dream, here's what I might think about. There's also a whole tradition of expressive art, of taking dream images or dream feelings and painting, or doing sculpture, or doing other kinds of things that express in a more physical, kinesthetic way, and sometimes a more direct way, what is happening. And so there's a whole tradition of doing that. And that can be very powerful. I've experimented with that a little bit, and it's really interesting to see what can happen.
I would imagine that indigenous cultures, we were talking about earlier in the show, really made dreams so central, it was almost as though dreams were another reality.
Oh,
something
absolutely.
that people absolutely lived, and it was as real as being awake and going about your day-to-day work. And I wonder, certainly we don't view it that way at all in our culture, but it seems like dream work is trying to get back to that a little bit, to get you to realize that your dream life can be as useful as getting up and going to work in the morning. Is it trying to integrate what we do at night when we're asleep with our waking life in the way so many indigenous cultures did?
Yes, that's part of where you can go with it. And certainly if you're a person who is very pragmatically focused and just wants to combine a little information from night dreams with daily life and stay at that level of working, then that's fine. But there are people who start to really get into dream work and to realize that it's like opening a door to a whole nother dimension of existence. For example, some people who do dream work and who have really thought about this are beginning to connect things that we experience in dreams and the experience, for example, of precognitive dreams with quantum models of how the universe is actually constructed. So if you think of a quantum model of time, for example, where an event drops into a quantum pool of probability, the ripples from that event are going to go in all directions, not just toward the future, but also back toward the past. So some people would say that modern physics and dream work can come together to suggest that some of the worldviews that indigenous cultures, ancient cultures had about reality might have something to say to us today in terms of how we know things and what we understand about our world.
What has your personal knowledge of dream work done for your life?
Well, it's way cut down on the number of nightmares I have, which was really good, because even as an adult, I continued to have regular, pretty scary dreams that I really didn't know what to do with. And I can absolutely say that working with dreams in a positive way, engaging with them creatively and openly has, for me at the moment, nightmares are not really much of an issue. I think they have enabled me to be more creative. Some of the things I like to explore also include creative writing. And so information from dreams, both about the writing itself and about how I feel about my writing, have helped me, I think, write more clearly and openly. I tend not to dream precognitively, so that hasn't been a factor for me, but I certainly know people who feel that they have gotten very direct advice from dreams that they implemented in their daily life that really helped them a lot.
Thanks, Mary Pat. This has been really interesting. I want to thank our guest, Dr. Mary Pat Mann, for joining us today to talk about dreams and dream work. For upcoming episodes, viewer feedback, and important links, log on to our website at the address that appears on your screen. Thanks for joining us on Health Vision, a production of WOUB Public Television.